Hello everyone, welcome again, and in this video we are going to cover variables and data types. But before that, let's see the full learning path that we will follow in this playlist. So we'll start with the variables and data types, which will be in this video because we already covered the introduction. And if you have not watched that video, make sure you check it out. And then we'll go to input in Java, how you type something in your keyboard and it will show up in the console or in your code. Then we have operators, where we'll see types of operators in Java. We'll go to flow control, where we learn about if statements. Then we go to loops, where we learn things like for loops, do while loops, and while loops. Then we move on to functions, or technically methods, because I told you methods are just functions. The only difference is that methods are inside a class. Then we have arrays. So we're gonna dive deep in arrays here, where we learn about 2D arrays, 3D arrays, 1D array. We'll cover strings, how to work with strings, concatenating strings and stuff like that. We are gonna go to object-oriented programming, which is the cornerstone of Java programming language because it is object-oriented, where we learn about classes, more about object, how to inherit a class, polymorphism, stuff like that. Then we'll move on to running error handling in Java using try-catch. We also cover multi-threading and concurrency. Here we learn things like what is multi-threading, how to create custom threads, and then we move on to collection, where we learn about collections. And some of the collection that we learn are lists. We also cover strings and lambda expressions, stacks and queues. We also cover sets, maps, and algorithm. But don't mistake this with data structures, because here we'll be using some pre-written libraries. So we are not gonna implement set from scratch or list from scratch. We are gonna use the libraries that Java offers. So if you want me to create another playlist that has to do with data structures and algorithms in Java, make sure you leave that in the comment section. So let's get started with data types and variables. A variable is a placeholder for storing value of a particular type. So think of a variable like a container that you put salt in it. Let's see how you declare and initialize variables in Java. And before you start using a variable, you have and you must declare it first. So how to declare that is like this. You start with the data type. If it is a number integer data type or a string data type, you start it here. Then you give it the name and then you initialize it. Something else to note is that variables in Java are case sensitive. So if you start with a capital letter, make sure that when you are referring to it, you start with a capital letter. An example of declaring and initializing variables is like this. You start with a string, then which is data type, then the variable, then the value. Same goes to integer, the variable, then the value. So as you can see here, a string is enclosed with double quotes. When it comes to printing this data out, you just write the variables here and then you print it. One more important feature of variable is that they can be changed. And to do that, you just assign a new value into it using the equals operator. For example, we can have a variable of data type string, and then we have initialized it with a value Monday. And then we want to change this one. You just say day of week, the variable name, and then assign it a new value. And remember that Java knows that, oh, this one is a string. So you said this one is a string. So when you come here, Java already knows that this one is a string. And you can only assign a new string. You cannot assign something like a number here. No, if it's a string, you assign a string. If it is an integer, you assign an integer. If it is a character, you can only assign characters. For example, let's say we have an integer number here. So this variable stores 10. You can change it to 11, which is good. But if you try to change that, which is of data type integer, to string, that will not work. Java will throw an error here. Alternative form of variable declaration are like this. If you want to declare multiple variables of the same data type, you can declare them in the same line like this. So you start with a string data type, or the data type that you have here, maybe an integer, then the variable name, then the value, then put a comma, variable name, value, put a comma, variable name, value, just like that. And then at the end of that line, make sure you put this semicolon. Also, you can declare the variable first. This one is called declaring the variable without giving it an initial value, and then you can initialize it later. So this is declaration and this one is initialization. Now let's talk about data types. Those were variables, and now let's talk about data types. We have two types of data types in Java. We have the primitive types and the non-primitive types, but we are gonna be working with primitive type in the beginning sections of this video or this tutorial series. And for the primitive data types, type from the same group operate similarly, but they have different sizes, and as a result they represent different ranges of values. Now let's see what you are talking about. So we have a number type here which represent 4 types, and I told you they have different ranges which result to different sizes. For the byte here, it has a size of 8 bits, so it can only store data from -128 to 127. For the short, it is of 16 bit. We have another integer. This is a data type 2 of size 32, which is very common. Then we have a long type which is of size 64. So these were the number data type. We also have floating points which store decimal numbers or fractional part, and they include the float, which is a data type of size 32. Then we have the double, which is of data type double, and it is of size 64 bit. This is how you declare and initialize these data types. You start with the data type float, then the variable name, then the value. And if it is a float, make sure you put this F here, or capital F, to make sure that Java knows that this one is a float and not a double. Another data type is characters, and they represent letters, digits, and other symbols. And each character is enclosed in a single quote. Remember that I told you strings are enclosed with double quotes. So characters are enclosed with single quotes, and they are of 16-bit in size. This is how you declare initialize characters. You start with the char, then you have the lowercase letter here, which is the variable name, then single quote, then the value. The next data types are Boolean, which store only 2 values, and it can only store true or false, and it only represents 1 bit of information. So booleans are widely used in conditional statement, which we will see in the later sections of this tutorial series, and we will work a lot with booleans. Those are primitive data types, and next we have the non-primitive data types. So these ones are also called reference data types because they reference somewhere in a memory. They act as pointers, and they contain a memory address of a variable value. There are two types of memories in Java. We have the stack memory, and then we have a heap memory. In the stack memory, that is where primitive data types are stored. For the non-primitive data types, which is like an array, we have an object, we also have a string. So instead of these ones storing their values inside the stack memory, they store their values in another section of a memory called heap memory. This variable here does not have the value, it has an address. So when you come here, it tells you, oh, I don't have that value, but I know where that value is because I have that address. So it points you to the address in the heap memory. So these store references, they act as pointers. I hope you understand what that. We have a string data type, which is an array of characters, and it holds sequence of characters in a single variable. The syntax of string is like this. You start with the string data type, like string, like this one here. Then you have the variable name and then the value, which is enclosed in double quote. Remember that characters are enclosed with single quote, but the string is enclosed with double quotes. Next, we have a class data type. Wow, that is kind of confusing you. How is a class a data type? Technically, a class is a user-defined data type because you are the one who will decide how that class will look like, the component that you will have, the properties, the methods. That is all by you. So that is why class is known as a user-defined data type. And a class can have modifiers like we saw earlier. It can be private, it can be public, and it can also be protected. Also, it can be a superclass, and also a class can have a body. Then we have an array, which is a group of flagged type variables that are referenced by a common name. And this is the syntax for declaring an array. For this one, it is an integer array. So you start with the data type, then the square bracket, then the variable name. Then you use the new keyword to tell Java, I need you to allocate a new memory where I want to put my new integer array. Now let's see them in VS Code. Let's create a new file called variables.java. And then inside this class, remember I told you that every Java program must have at least one main method. So let's add it like that. And then inside the main method, given that this is where JVM will start executing our code. So this inside these curly braces is where we put our code. So we'll start with the primitive types, primitives, like that. I told you you have integer, so you can say int number, like that. Then you can assign it a value, like that. And if you want to assign multiple values, you can say number 2, like that, and then give it like 29. So that is how you can declare and initialize variables. Also, you can do int number 3, you can say number 3, like that. So you declare it and then you initialize it here. So you can say number 3, then you can give it a value like that. So this is declaring, so and this one is initializing it. And if you want to print it on the screen as I showed you, you just write s out like that and then press the tab key on your keyboard, and then you can print it out. If you want to print a number, you just write a number there. If you want to print number 2, you just write number 2 like that, and same goes to number 3, and then you can run your code. So for me, I'll use the manual method. So you can say variables, java c variables.java. I compile it, and then I can run it using the Java variables like that. Same goes to integers, characters, booleans, floats, doubles, all of them. Okay. For the non-primitive data types, we talked about strings. So you can say string. So these are non-primitive. So we said we have a string. So you can say my name, or yeah, my name, that. Then you can put your name in here, that, and then enclose it like that. So this is how you initialize a string and declare it. To print it, it is the same. So you just write s out and then the name there. And then when you run this code, it will display it. Okay. That was primitive and the non-primitive data types. And we also talked about variables. Let's talk about array data type. To initialize and declare an array, you can do the data type of the array. For me, it will be integer array. I can say my array here, and then use the new keyword, then like that. Then give it a size, so it will hold 5 elements. If I want to put those elements, I can say from 0, put something like 39. Then you can say to index 1, put something there like 29, like that. This is how you declare and initialize array. And then to put variables in those, to put values in those, the element slots in the array, you can use this syntax here, and then you can print it out. So s out, so my array, then let's run it. We will compile it, do java c like that. Then after compiling it, then we can run it by doing java like that. Then you see, now this value is a reference that points to a memory address inside the heap memory. This is the address in the heap memory. Remember I told you that non-primitive data types are reference variables. So if you want to print something here, you can do maybe index 0 like that. Then let's run it. Java C, first compile it, then you can say Java, then access it. You see, now we can access, the value is in index 0. So that is how you declare, initialize, add some values, and print an array. The next one is a class. I know you are wondering, how is a class a data type? Let's create a class. Maybe call it car, like that, or maybe Mercedes, like we did in our earlier section of this video. And you know, a car can have wheels, or maybe speed. You can say int speed, then you can give it a value like 90. This car can go up to 90 miles per hour. Then you can give it a color, so you can say a string color, like that. You see, then give it a value, maybe blue, like that. Then say that this car can maybe start or row, like, you know, with the tab. So you can put a method inside there, say s out, boom. So you see, you can do more, but let's keep it simple. To create this data type, remember I told you that a class is a data type and a class is used to create object. So you start with the data type as always. Our data type will be Mercedes here, and then create an object, Mercedes car, maybe G class, that, then use the new keyword, and then Mercedes. So this object here, this is an object now, and you can create more and more and more using the same class. You can create a S class if there's a car that called like that, or maybe you are creating your own design, but all of them are from this blueprint. And this class here, this car here, can do a lot. You can access it color, so you can do s out dot s class dot color like that, and then it will print its color. You can also do something else. Let's see if it can work. Then you can call you can access the speed. Then you can also call this function here or method. So you can do s class dot row like that. Okay. So when you call this method, it will tell you the color of that car, it will tell you the speed of that car, and how that car starts. Let's do it. Java C. Then after that, we can run it using JVM, you see. So we access the color here, then we access the speed using this dot notation. We accessed the color, the speed, and then the method here. I know this one is complex. Don't worry about it right now. We are gonna cover it in object-oriented section, and I promise you, you will understand more on how classes and objects work together. Now, I wanted to show you something called typecasting. And typecasting is when you have something like a byte. Remember I told you that a byte is the smallest primitive data type. So to convert it to short, Java can do that for you. It can also do it. It can convert that short to integer, and then integer to long. Okay. And then long can be converted to float. Then float can be converted to a double. Okay, so this one is called automatic typecasting. So let me give you an example. Let's say we have a byte. So byte like that, my byte. You can say my byte like that. I'm very bad at naming variables. And remember I told you that it can only store values from -128 to 127, like that. Okay. If you try to put 128 here, that throws an error. So if I want to convert this to an integer and just reassign it like this, say my integer, and then assign that value, which is my byte. So remember this one is a byte, and we said that this one can only take integer values. So you are expecting me to assign this one to a new byte, but we assigned it to an integer. How? So Java converted it to integer automatically. But if you want to convert this integer to byte, Java cannot do that for you. So when you try to do another byte, maybe take that byte there, or maybe that will confuse you, but let me do it and try to put my int inside it like that. This one will throw an error. It will say this one is a type mismatch. It cannot convert from integer to byte. This one cannot be done automatically. So if you want to convert it automatically, we just come here and put byte like that. And then when you do that, now this one has been converted. So integer has been converted to byte. I don't know if that confused you, but that is how explicit conversion is done. So this one was implicit conversion. Java does it for you, and this one is called explicit conversion. I wanted to give you a homework. We have two numbers here. Let me show you. Int a, we have 10, and then we have int b here, which has 20. That. So I want you to convert, to swap these numbers. So you take a into B and then you take B into A. Okay, I want you to do that. Pause the video and try it. Okay, let's do it. So to swap these numbers, it can be very simple. You can say int A is equals to A plus B. Okay, let's remove this integer. Okay, like that. So now A has value A and B. So you can come and say B is equals to A, which also have value A and B. Remember that A here, so A here has 30, but B also have 20. B is 20 still here, B is 20. So to get to swap B, you can take this A, which has 30, and then you minus B. Remember B here still has 20, so B has 22, like that. So when I take 30 minus 20, it will give me 10. So that 10, which I get the result here, so this one will give me 10, like that. So this 10 will put it in B. B has 10. Then you can say A is equals to A minus B. Remember B has 10 now. So here A is 32 because we just minus, but we did not reassign it. So A is still 30. When you come here, it will take 30. Here it will be 30 minus 10. A will have 20. As you can see, A was 10, but now we've swapped it to 20. That is one way. This one you can say one method to do it. Another simpler method, introducing another integer. So you can say integer C, assign A. C has A, and because C has A, now you can assign A with the value of B. A now has B, which is 20, and now you can assign B with the value which is in C. And remember that we put A in C, so C has 10. A took B, which is 20, and then B took the value that we put in C. That was A, and that value was 10. That is how you can swap variables in Java. In the next video, we are going to talk about operators in Java. See you in the next video.